Hi, Drunken here. Just going to talk to you on what greenskin or orc or orruk faction you should get. So I'm just going to break down basically between the three factions. We got obviously we have the Iron Jaws, we have the Savage Orruks or the Bone Splitters, and we have greenskins. So we'll start off with the Iron Jaws because most people are probably playing those. Um, so I'm just going to use the basic units, the cavalry and the infantry as my examples, and maybe a war boss as well, and do a bit of a comparison to see what kind of play style, if you are intending to do an army of destruction that's not ogres or goblins, what one suits you best. So for starters, Iron Jaws are very expensive. That's the first point. They're probably the most expensive greenskin faction, Orruk faction as well. So they also have probably the highest wound amounts, and they're probably the highest damage output as well. So you get more bang for your buck, but you have less units. And right off the bat, I'll say that all Orruk units have basically horrible bravery. So you're going to take a lot of battle shock tests, and if you roll high, you're going to lose a lot of units. So that's probably the Achilles heel of Iron Jaws, is that their units are very expensive, and if they roll sixes for their bravery or battle shock, you're going to lose expensive models. So we move on to a comparison of like the Ard Boys, which are a 2 wound model, a 1 damage, sometimes -1, and they have a 6-up protection with their shields, which is all right. It just says any wound. I'm not sure if it's mortal wound. I'm not going to bother checking it, but and then we got Savage Orruks. Now the Savage Orruk infantry is the same points cost as greenskin Orruks, but there's 2 slight differences. So the first difference is that Savage Orruks are 2 wound models. They have a worse off save. However, they have a mortal wound special ability that negates damage inflicted on a roll of a 6. And I think there's a special war scroll that lets you do that better as well. They also, by having larger numbers, something that the other two, that Iron Jaws kind of lacks, having larger numbers will give them better wound rolls on 1, and then if you have 30 models, you can re-roll all your wounds, which is pretty amazing if you're over 30 models, I think. Yes. And when I say Iron Jaws, they have a problem with that is because their units are very expensive. It's very hard to like beef up, let's say, Ard Boys unit to a mob of 30 when you want to be spending that points on, for example, Gore Grunters, and your a Weird Boy, or what do you call them, the Weird Knob Shaman. So yes. And then we got greenskins. Our greenskins have probably the best save for the infantry in terms of survivability. However, they're 1 wound models compared to the other 2 base infantry, which are 2 wound. So greenskins have a 5-up re-rollable save, which is, I'll repeat that, a 5-up re-rollable save. Yes, which means that it's probably one of the best defensive shields in the game, even better than dwarves, oddly enough, which can turn them into a real tar pit for your enemy. By having more in the mob, you get an extra attack, so your 1 attack becomes 2, and I think 2 becomes 3 attacks, if I'm not mistaken, if you have 30. And also remember that having an extra 10 models will increase the bravery of the unit. So if you have a 30-man mob of orruks, your bravery goes from 5 to 8, assuming you don't lose too many. And then on top of that, you can boost it with banners and things as well. You can equip them with spears, and you can equip them with bows, though I would recommend, if you do choose the greenskin option, to use swords and shields because of that 5-up re-rollable save. For Ard boys, I think having a mix is a great option. I think the 6-up save against your enemy's attacks is okay, but it's not very. I mean, you've got a 1 in 6 chance. It's not very good. So I wouldn't be relying on that as much as having more attack, if you like. And for Savage Orruks, your best bet is actually for bows. Bows and a mixture, because they have 2 wounds each, and they have a lot of attacks each. So it's good to have a mix. So that's the idea. So if you put on a scale of sort of, you got Iron Jaws at the most expensive and more bang for your buck, and then you got in the middle, you got Greenskins, which are a mix of the both of them, and then at the bottom you got Savage Orruks, which sort of don't have much defense but have a lot of damage and are your monster killers. So it's the same with the cavalry. So Gore Grunters are amazing heavy hitting cavalry, but they're very expensive, and also they have high wounds, and they also suffer the same as the usual bravery. Boar boys are probably my favorite choice for the greenskins, because they still get that 5-up re-rollable save, having a sword and shield. And finally, we have the Moor boys, I think they're called, the Savage Orruk, and they also have, I think, 3 wounds apiece. So it seems that Savage Orruks, the Bone Splitters, are much more well-rounded, but if you want, if you're going pure greenskin army, I would recommend having your majority of your army as Boar boys, because they have the same characteristics as your infantry, except they move 9 inches and have 2 wounds. So also, choppers have a -1 rend, which is amazing for basic infantry. So then you have, like, obviously your war bosses, and each of them do your boosts on all of them. So you obviously need one of those. So yeah, that's basically a quick overview of each of the 3 main greenskin factions, and I really hope that they continue with the greenskins as a playable, competitive faction, because they are, and not sort of discontinue them later on as a compendium force, because they do have their place in Age of Sigmar, especially something that it's not with the other 2 factions, is the Boar Boy Chariot. So you probably the equivalent is your big stabber for the Savage Orruks, but the Boar Boys have a chariot that's like, for 80 points, is a 9-inch moving unit, and has it's amazing for its points cost. 6 wounds, so it's a 6-wound model for, I think it's 80 points, and on a 4-up does D3 mortal wounds. So you could have 3 of these chariots and just mow down. And I do this with my army, because it's a greenskin army. Have 3 of these chariots and just come around the flank and hit them, and then just retreat, and then come back again, just like what chariots used to do, hit and run tactics. So yeah, you could do that. But that said, greenskins are a very sort of, if you like, glass cannon army because they can hit very hard. But if they will take a lot of wounds because a lot of their statistics and description and abilities do not defend against mortal wounds. So you got to be careful with that. Take it on the chin with other units. But that said, if you're going pure greenskins, boar boys become battle line. So there's no real point. Maybe have a blob of 30 sword and shield orruks, and then the rest boar boys. Because the sword and shield orruks are, like I said, a massive tar pit, and they do a lot of damage if they get in combat. But the problem is that a lot of them will die if they're going to get shot at. Savage orruks, or orruks. I can't pronounce it. They're excellent. In fact, I probably would start that if orcs weren't so many models to paint. But yeah, they're definitely a more well-rounded faction, and I would say they're actually better than Ironjaws in some cases because you have a more versatile army to adapt your tactics to your opponent. Whereas Ironjaws are a very sort of hit and win army. You got the wounds to take that your enemy can take down, but and when you hit really hard. But the problem is you have to keep the momentum going with your and make sure you keep killing those units because if you don't, you'll get tied down. Especially that's why I think the most what do you call it, horrible unit and faction to fight as playing orcs in general is Nurgle because of their 5-up immortality thing because of their with the descriptions like because they're rotting flesh they don't feel the pain so they stay alive. So yeah, Nurgle is the bane of all orcs as far as I'm concerned. But yes, so that's my sort of take on the 3 orc factions. I'm not going to cover goblins and ogres because the video will be too long. But yeah, so if you're going to pick Ironjaws, then I'd probably think about you're picking an army that's going to be like a basically like a maul. You're going to hit really hard, but your army is going to be quite slow. And if you don't hit, then your opponent's going to hit you very hard in the back. So yeah, like Orruk Brutes are amazing, and Gore Grunters and Ard Boys are good for taking the middle. So yeah, Savage Orcs, like I said, versatile. You have your bows, your spears, and your stabbers. Have a nice mix of everything, and it'll look nice on the table as well. And greenskins, a more fast attack army, I would play them as. So lots of cavalry, boar boys, lots of chariots, and have a blob of infantry because they're really cheap and they're good objective holders. And those, like I said, 5-up rerollable shields are amazing. So yeah, thank you for watching to my insight on greenskins. I'll do another video later on discussing something else. I just figured it's nice. I try to keep it more towards orcs and goblins and destruction-based armies this channel, but I am doing some other projects. Namely, I'm doing Khorne Bloodbound at the moment because my armies are back at home, but that's for another time. So thank you for watching and peace out.